The applause faded into stunned silence as Flight 77 cruised steadily through the calm skies. Outside the window, the two F-22 Raptors stayed locked in tight formation, gliding like silver arrows across the fading daylight. Inside, no one spoke above a whisper. The businessman who had been loud and smug now sat rigid, occasionally stealing glances towards seat 22C, the woman they'd mocked, who turned out to be Major Falcon, a name that once echoed through the Air Force radio networks like legend. The captain's voice came over the intercom again, this time steady and reverent. "Ladies and gentlemen, Air Force One has requested that we maintain formation for the next 45 minutes. We are being escorted safely through restricted airspace and will resume normal flight shortly after." A collective murmur rose from the passengers. Someone whispered, "Did he say Air Force One requested it?" Another said, "Who is she?" The woman in 22C just smiled faintly, brushing her fingers against the dog tags beneath her hoodie, the same ones that once hung over a desert uniform, glinting in the heat of the Middle East sun. She remembered radio calls, night skies, and engines roaring in formation. She remembered leading her squadron under call sign Falcon 27, protecting diplomats, civilians, and sometimes the president's own flight. But that was years ago. She'd left it all behind, or so she thought. The tall businessman in front of her, who'd mocked her earlier, turned halfway in his seat. His voice was low and uneasy. "Listen, I'm sorry for what I said earlier. I didn't know," she interrupted gently. "You don't have to explain. People rarely know what others have been through. It's okay." He nodded awkwardly, guilt written all over his face. Minutes later, one of the flight attendants approached with a small smile. "Ma'am, the captain would like to speak with you again, in the cockpit." A few passengers gasped quietly as she unbuckled her seatbelt and walked forward. Every eye followed her through the narrow aisle. The captain opened the door himself. "Welcome aboard the front seat again, Major," he said respectfully. The cockpit glowed with soft orange light from the horizon. Through the windshield, the two F-22s soared gracefully, one slightly higher, the other low. Classic protection formation. "Command just confirmed it," the captain said, handing her the radio headset. "They want you on direct line." She put the headset on, the familiarity instantly flooding back. The moment she pressed the transmitter, a clear military voice came through. "Falcon 27, this is Eagle Lead. Good to hear your voice again, ma'am." She couldn't help but smile. "Eagle Lead, that voice sounds familiar." A deep laugh replied, "Last time I saw you, you were pulling G's over Baghdad and yelling at me to keep my wings level." The cockpit crew listened in awe. "Good to hear you too, Commander," she said. "Looks like you're still babysitting passenger planes." "Only when the passenger happens to be you, ma'am," Eagle Lead replied. "Air Force One's pilot personally requested this escort. The President said to tell you, welcome home, Falcon." Her throat tightened slightly. "Tell him I said thank you, and that I'm done chasing storms." "Copy that," came the warm reply. "But the skies still remember you." She smiled and handed back the headset. The captain looked at her, clearly moved. "Major, that was incredible." She shrugged softly. "Just old friends saying hello." As she returned to her seat, the passengers greeted her with quiet respect. The businessman in 22A whispered to the others. She talked to the Air Force, like directly. No clearance, no delay. They knew her. Even the children on board stared in awe. One little girl tugging her mother's sleeve and whispering, "Mommy, she's a real hero." When the plane began descending toward Los Angeles, the Raptors broke formation, one by one banking away in graceful arcs. The passengers clapped again, watching through the windows as the fighter jets disappeared into the clouds. The woman in 22C whispered under her breath, "Thank you, boys." Moments later, the captain's voice came through. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We've just been informed that the President's aircraft has cleared our airspace. We are now descending into Los Angeles International. And I'd like to personally thank a very special passenger aboard Flight 77, Major Falcon, for her service and her quick thinking today. It was an honor flying with you." Applause erupted throughout the cabin. Passengers turned to her, some clapping, some saluting awkwardly, others simply smiling in gratitude. The tall businessman beside her leaned closer. "Major Falcon, may I at least know your real name?" She smiled politely. "It's Kara Flynn." "Kara," he repeated softly. "Well, Kara, the next time I see someone in a hoodie and sneakers, I'll remember that heroes don't always wear uniforms. Neither do good people," she replied. When the plane landed, flashing lights filled the runway. News vans, security vehicles, and a small motorcade waited at the gate. The passengers watched in astonishment as Secret Service agents boarded first, greeting her quietly. "Kara Flynn?" one agent asked. She nodded. "Yes, ma'am, the President sends his regards. He asked us to ensure your safe transfer to the base. He also said, tell Falcon 27 we owe her one again." She chuckled softly. "Still can't resist teasing me, huh?" The agent smiled. "He said you'd say that." As she stood to leave, the passengers applauded once more. A few shook her hand, others simply whispered thank you. The tall businessman lowered his head respectfully. "You taught me something today," he said quietly. "Never judge what you don't understand," Kara smiled. "Just remember, quiet skies don't mean empty stories." She stepped out into the bright California sunlight, the hum of engines echoing faintly in the distance. For a moment she paused at the top of the mobile stairs, watching another jet climb high into the sky. She could almost hear the radio chatter in her mind. "Falcon 27 cleared for takeoff." "Copy that. See you on the other side." A figure approached, an Air Force general she hadn't seen in years. "Kara Flynn," he said warmly, saluting her. "Still finding ways to surprise us." "Just caught a flight home," she said with a smile. The general laughed. "The President wants to meet with you tomorrow. Apparently, he never forgot what you did back in 2014. She nodded quietly. "I didn't do it for memory, sir. I did it because it was right," he smiled. "And that's why they still talk about you in the skies." As she walked toward the waiting car, cameras flashed in the distance. Reporters shouted questions. "Who is Major Falcon? Why did Air Force One escort her?" But Kara didn't stop. Some stories didn't need retelling. Some legends spoke for themselves. That night, as she sat alone in her small apartment overlooking Los Angeles, she turned on the TV. The news was everywhere. Unidentified woman on commercial flight, confirmed as decorated Air Force pilot, Air Force One escorts, civilian jet to safety. The screen showed shaky passenger footage, her silhouette at the window, the fighter jets flying alongside, the salute exchange. She sighed softly, then turned off the TV. Pulling out her dog tags, she held them tightly for a moment. The metal felt cool, grounding. Then she placed them gently inside a wooden box, alongside an old photo, her and her squadron standing beside their jets, grinning under the blazing sun. For the first time in years, Kara Flynn smiled, a quiet, content smile. She wasn't Major Falcon anymore, not officially, but in the hearts of those who had witnessed her calm strength that day. The legend of Falcon 27 had taken flight once again. Outside, in the night sky above Los Angeles, a faint sound echoed the distant roar of jet engines, and though she was home now, she whispered one last time into the silence, "Falcon 27, mission complete." Emma Carter adjusted the strap of her handbag as she walked through the airport terminal, holding her 8-year-old son Liam's hand. It was supposed to be a simple flight, just a short trip to visit her sister after years of keeping her life quiet, peaceful, and ordinary. Emma liked ordinary now. It was safe. It didn't require bravery or uniforms or the sky. It didn't require being the person she once was. Seat 12F was printed on her boarding pass, and she smiled because she always preferred the window. It made Liam excited, and watching the clouds helped her breathe whenever memories tried to return. People who saw her today would never imagine the truth, that this quiet, gentle single mom was once known by a name that echoed across Air Force bases and enemy radios with fear and respect. A call sign that once belonged to a legend, Viper 1. She had flown jets that broke the sound barrier. She had locked eyes with danger more times than she could count. But she never spoke of that life, not anymore. She left it when she lost her husband, Captain Ryan Carter, in a training accident no one expected. He had been her flying partner, her best friend, and the only one who understood the fire inside her when she flew. His death shattered her sky, and she promised herself she would never let her son live with the same fear she once carried, the fear of losing a parent who never returned from the clouds. Liam pressed his face to the window of the plane as they settled into row 12. "Mom, do you think the pilot will fly fast today?" he asked with the kind of excitement only a child could have. Emma laughed softly and brushed his hair from his eyes. "Passenger planes don't fly fast like fighter jets, sweetheart." She said it casually, but her heart tightened. She had flown faster than any of these passengers could imagine. She had felt the roar of twin engines, the vibration of a jet breaking the sound barrier, the intense turning pressure of combat maneuvers. She missed it sometimes, only at night when the sky outside her bedroom window looked too quiet. But she had moved on. She had to. The plane taxied down the runway and lifted into the air. Passengers settled in. Some slept, some listened to music, some typed on laptops. Emma pulled out a small activity book for Liam and helped him draw clouds, planes, and the silly cartoon pilot he loved. For a moment, everything felt normal, peaceful, ordinary, the life she wanted. Halfway through the flight, the calm shifted. A jolt shook the airplane, so sudden that a few passengers gasped. The cabin lights flickered for a second. Emma's instincts sharpened instantly, almost painfully. Her senses became alert, the way they once did in the cockpit before a problem escalated. She scanned the cabin without thinking, recognizing details most people would miss. The angle of the wings outside, the slight pitch change, the tone of the engines. Something was wrong. The captain's voice came through the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, the aircraft is experiencing a minor technical issue. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened." His voice was calm, but Emma heard what most others couldn't, the strain behind his words. Pilots used that tone only when the situation was not minor. The plane shook again, more violently this time. A few drinks spilled. A baby started crying. Someone whispered a prayer. Oxygen masks did not drop. But Emma's muscles remembered the drill, the training, the emergency protocols burned into her mind long ago. Liam looked up at her, eyes wide. "Mom, are we okay?" She squeezed his hand with reassuring confidence. "We're fine, look at me. Take a deep breath. It's just turbulence, okay?" She spoke gently, but inside the old version of her, the one trained to assess and solve emergencies, was already analyzing. Another announcement came, but this time the captain didn't sound calm at all. "If there is any passenger on board with aviation or military flight experience, please make yourself known to the cabin crew immediately. We need assistance." Those words shifted the atmosphere instantly. People looked around. Some passengers panicked, some cried, some clutched their armrests. A few phone cameras started recording, as always in modern times. Emma's heart pounded. She had sworn never to step into that role again, never to put herself back into the air as a pilot, never to let that dangerous world touch her son's life. She had built a new identity, Emma the mother, not Emma the aviator. But as the plane shook harder and a faint burning smell reached the cabin, she realized there were more lives here than just her own and Liam's. A flight attendant rushed down the aisle, eyes searching. "Is anyone here with flying experience? Military? Civil aviation? Anyone?" People looked away, helpless. Emma looked at her son. Liam's small voice broke her internal battle. "Mom, you can help them, can't you? Like you helped Dad land that small plane in your stories." Emma felt her breath tremble. She had a choice. Stay quiet, be safe, be ordinary, or save everyone on this plane like she had been trained to do. She knew the answer before she stood. She always knew. Once a pilot, always a pilot. She gently unbuckled, leaned down, and kissed Liam's forehead. "Stay here, be brave. I'll be right back." His little hands held hers for a second longer, trusting. She walked up the aisle with a calmness that surprised even her. People watched her like she was walking toward fire. The flight attendant met her halfway with desperate eyes. "Do you have aviation experience?" Emma nodded once. "Former Air Force fighter pilot." The captain himself pulled open the cockpit door, his face pale, sweat on his forehead. "We've lost navigation and radio intermittently. Systems are glitching. Engines are heating beyond safe levels. We don't know how long we can stay airborne." Emma stepped inside. The cockpit smell, the switches, the screens, the humming of systems, it all pulled her back into the life she thought she buried. The co-pilot stared at her like she was a ghost. "Name?" Emma hesitated, the old identity fighting its way up from the past. "Emma Carter, call sign Viper 1. The captain froze, recognition hitting him like a shock. "The Viper 1? He said softly, as if he were saying the name of a legend. She didn't respond, which was answer enough. The radio crackled suddenly. A military channel cut through the static. "Flight 279, this is Raptor lead from the 121st Fighter Wing. You have entered restricted airspace and are off course. State assistance or emergency status." 2 fighter jets, F-22 Raptors, slid into formation outside the passenger plane, one on each wing, silent, powerful, and watching. Passengers saw them through the windows and panic grew louder. Emma put on the headset. The familiar weight felt unreal. She spoke, voice controlled, steady, like she hadn't skipped a single day. "Raptor lead, this is assisting pilot. Viper 1. There was complete silence on the frequency. Then the voice of the F-22 commander came back, stunned, almost emotional. "Viper 1. Welcome back." Emma exhaled slowly. She didn't know that this day, this flight, would pull her life toward the sky once again.